So I've been building some packages lately, and I wanted to share someone I coded in 1.5 hours with Claude to test something out that I wanted to use myself. There are some alternatives on the market, but not something I really loved, and something that is in the branding that I like for my customers, for myself as well. So it's related to Widgetbook, a component library that you can use to debug, to build your components in an easy way to see how everything works, and have it also branded in the same style as your parent app. So designers and the rest of the product owners are familiar with a similar interface, and having a cleaner UX than Widgetbook, in my opinion. So that's the challenge I set to Cloud Code. I gave it, and it ran for 1.5 hours, and it got the basic framework done. Then I worked on it for 5 hours more, and this is the finished product that I currently have, which is still, of course, ongoing. So who am I? I'm Koen Van Looveren. I'm a Flutter developer, freelancer, Flutter Belgium host as well, and I really love open source. So a lot of packages that you see that I've been using or built is mostly done open source. I think gatekeeping what you know is not really good for the community. That's also why I do these talks, do these lightning talks, and the hosting of Flutter Belgium as well. So indeed, we do have a Widgetbook, but there is quite some boilerplate code that you need to write. There are some generators, but most of them are meh, I would say. It's not in line with the rest of your code base, mainly branding, I would say then. And in some cases you have different theming, you have different localizations, so it's also not the same way it's structured. So that's what I wanted to change, and I wanted something that fits my needs exactly as I needed them. So I built an ecosystem of 3 packages. People who've built generators before look at this pattern and they see, okay, I know how it works, I know what this does. So it's a package that you use in your code first to generate the actual UI, then an annotation library for the generator, and then the generator itself for build runner, which generates the entire boilerplate code for you. So this is my basic setup. I have a UI Playground app that will just run the entire app, and then you can configure different sections and different components as well. In this case, buttons could even be just components and then a list of all your components. You can add another section with your branding, your styles, your text styles, to expand on that as well. So if you would write it manually, it would look something like this. So you have my button item, which has a title and then a variant or different variants. So in this case, it could also be a primary button, secondary button, and different ones. But for a basic example, I still use one variant. So of course, we then need a variant. The variant also has a title, also has a build method, and then the inputs that you need to change some parameters on your button. And then the inputs are then also generated at the bottom. It's a different class again, where you see all the different inputs, and in this case we only have 2. We have a title and it's enabled. I've not yet added the void callback, which I will do in the demo as well. So what does it look like if you build something like this, or use something like this? In my case, it's just fairly basic, very similar to what you would see in Widgetbook, but then in the same design pattern or the same design branding as my other components. Everything is relatable and everything is similar as the other app or the other apps that I built. And then you can actually start debugging your component. You can switch it around. You can change the title. You can set it to enabled and disabled. And these are actually just the props that you need for this specific button. But everyone now is thinking, okay, we've written a lot of boilerplate code. So why would I actually use it? So indeed, that's not the whole point of the demo. It's just to show what you can do with it without the generator. So the next part is then to simplify it. So you have my button item, which has a title and then a variant or different variants. So in this case, it could also be a primary button, secondary button, and different ones. and it's generating all the boilerplate code for you. So in the end, it's just adding one basic annotation that is added to your component, and then the rest is all generated for you. So the title gets an input, the Boolean gets a Boolean input, and everything is generated in the templates that I showed you previously. So if we then do that in code, you will see that I have a new button. So the new button now also has an annotation and also has an on tap. So the on tap is a void callback, or it could be any function. I will also maybe add another function later on. But let's see. If you can see, the generator now has no components. So that makes sense, because we currently don't have components. We still need to run build runner, which I have a short function for. It's just running build runner with deleting conflicts outputs, which makes it easier for me to understand. And then, of course, what did I do? Did I break it? It's, I did break it. It's the caching, eh? Leave
the output file and change it.
Yeah, indeed. And this one I should keep. So indeed, now it generates the entire file for you. So it generates all the components that you have in a simple list, so you can use it as well. And then all the different inputs, and also with some comments, so it's easy to read for you. And then if you look at the generation of the on tap, you don't actually just want to get an input for, you just want to show a notification that something happened, that a callback or a function was called. So in this case, I just show a notification with the actual parameters of the function. If you would have extra parameters, it would also contain the name of the parameter and then the value of the parameter, which makes it easy to debug, to see if something goes wrong or something changed. And then if we now also update this part, where I just add all the generated components, which is this list, and we restart the playground. I restarted the wrong one. Now we have a second button, which has again the title and the input all generated for me. And then if I tap it, then it will execute the callback as well. So fairly basic, but for me, it's mainly about the automation of the boilerplate code, which in this case, it's just adding one extra line of code, which makes it a lot easier to maintain and also to motivate developers to actually do this part as well. Now to continue, indeed, we now have the annotations and then the generator. So the annotation is indeed just the component annotation, and then the generator is for build runner, and it generates all the items, variants, inputs in just one file. So it's also not something that is, adding extra files to the rest of your file system. It also works for external components. So let's say if you have a custom class, you can just build your own input for that, add that to a config, and then it will also just detect that manually, automatically for you as well. There's just one extra part that you need to do for the component generation, which is creating a simple class with an extra annotation, the UI playground components, which is then the file that is detected to generate the file under to build the entire boilerplate code for you. Okay. And then indeed which types are supported. So a string, boolean, int, double, enum values, which just gives you an entire list of all the enum values that you have. Different colors, datetime color, also an icon data, so just some random icons that I for now just added, but some you can override yourself as well. And then of course just the custom inputs that you can write if you have a custom class, which makes it easier. I also added support for defaults, for nullable, non-nullable, and I'm also looking at adding a default for the UI playground that is not in your Flutter code. So let's say if you have an icon that has a required field for the size, but you want to have a 24 size for the UI playground, then you want to have an extra annotation for that it generates it automatically. Otherwise it will be a size 0, which doesn't make sense because you don't see anything. So I think that was it. I think in general I spent around six or 7 hours building this. And I've been using it in 4 projects already, which makes it a lot easier to just build all the components and start with what you know, and what you see is what you get in the end. Thanks. Any questions? Where is the mic?